live. You're live. Hello, I'm Tim Van Milligan. We are here at RockSim Live. We missed last week. That was because I was out of town attending a wedding, and Michelle was also out of town. So there was nobody here to do the live presentations, but I'm here now, and we're going to be talking about the RockSim software. As you come in, go ahead and say hello. We've got 3 people so far. We got 4 people. Rosa from Ottawa, Mark Gillette, Carlos K. from Marietta, Georgia, and Michael O'Brien from Mesa, Arizona. Well, welcome everybody. I've got a monitor over here, so that's kind of why I'm looking off to the side. If you are watching this on replay, this is RockSim Live, and what we do here is talk about the RockSim software and what you can do with it. And our purpose here is to answer your questions that you may have about RockSim, RockSim Pro, or the new launch visualizer. And let me bring up my computer screen here. This is the Apogee website that we're looking at here. Our web address is apogeerockets.com. You can see that here on the top. And if you would like to learn about RockSim, come down here to How To and Guides, come to Software, and then over here to RockSim Video Tutorials. Here's the RockSim Live Trainings. If I click on that, that will bring up all of our previous RockSim Lives. You can see we're on episode 44 today. 43 was the last time, 2 weeks ago. And it gives you the link to that video plus all the timestamps of the different topics that we talked about. So if you want to simulate a rocket that splits into 2, you would go to 16 minutes and 25 seconds, and that's how you'd find it. To get RockSim, you would go to Shopping, and then come down here to Rocket Software, and over here is RockSim. I also have here the launch visualizer, and this you can play with right now. We are still currently in beta testing, but we are getting really close to calling it done and ready to release. Just a couple little extra things that we have to do yet. To check out the launch visualizer, go to rocksim.com, and when you do, you'll come to a page like this, and this is where you can set up your simulations and launch your rockets and see what they're going to do. And I'm hoping to do one of those unless there's any burning questions. We have Human Mech that came in. He just says hello. He didn't say where he's from. And Nick Verini from Colorado. Awesome. We love our Colorado neighbors. Yeah, the RockSim Pro, or the RockSim Visualizer, is coming along really good. I've been playing around with it. The last time we were here, it wasn't working because, like I said, our programmers are working on it. We're in beta test right now. But while we're in beta test, you can play with it. And if you want to get all the features, come to the Apogee website. Let me bring up the Apogee website again. Go to the home page, and on the home page there's this scrolling banner bar here, and just scroll here until you get to Beta Testers Wanted, the launch visualizer. Click on that, and that will tell you how you can go about becoming an official beta tester, and then I'll unlock all the features for you. So you can pick your launch site, angle your rockets, give them starting velocity. What else can you do? You can also, oh, there's so much you can do. Let's go over here. Right now I've got a Zephyr Junior loaded here on the launch pad. And you can see that this is a 3-dimensional image showing our rocket sitting on the launch pad. And this gives you an indication of where it is aimed. So right now, if I look at it like straight down, it's kind of aimed off to the northeast somewhere. And I have some wind hitting the rocket coming from this way. So this is really not typically what you would normally do, you'd probably normally aim into the wind. So if I wanted to do that, I would come over here to starting state, this little button right here, click on that, and this gives us all of our starting settings. Let me move this down here a little bit more because I want to see the button on the very bottom of the screen. This button on the bottom of the screen is the launch button right here, this blue button. So right now, like I said, I'm launching to the northeast, but if the wind is coming out of the west, I want to switch this around. So I'm just going to grab the little slider right here. I'm going to aim it that way because we don't want this rocket drifting too far. I have, let's see, I got a steady wind, and my wind is 8 miles an hour coming out of the west. So that's how you can see where your wind is. And you can drag this one too, so I can drag it around, see, like that. I can, if you see over here in the corner, you can see that my wind angle is changing as I'm dragging that around, so you can have a point of view of that. And when you like it where it is, click OK. Loading motors is just like you would load a motor in RockSim. I have a body tube, and currently I have an F30-FJ. FJ stands for fast blackjack, so it gives a black smoke, and it's got an 8-second delay on it, which probably at this launch angle is probably a little bit too much. So I'll back that down to a 6-second delay. Starting events, flight events right here. I have a parachute set to deploy at maximum engine ejection delay. This right here is a map. I previously ran a simulation, so there's already a rocket simulation here. And I can make that a little bit bigger. And this is also three-dimensional, so you can see where the rocket is going. This one, I picked the launch site up in near Minneapolis, Minnesota, and right along this launch site is the Mississippi River. And this rocket launched right here. It went up and over, and I thought it was going to go into the river, and I just barely avoided the river. It landed in somebody's backyard right here. But you'd probably want to keep your rocket on this field. This is probably I would say this rocket is probably a little bit too powerful for this field. It's long, but it's kind of narrow across the side. But I've changed my simulation, so I'm not going to go launch to the west. And we've got a wind coming out of the west, and you can see which is west here because we got a compass wheel down here. The blue arrow points to the north. So north is up here at the top of the screen, so west is coming out of this side. And this time we would probably expect the rocket to go this way, and it's probably going to land over here somewhere, but we'll give it a try. So we'll click down here is the launch button, so you click that, and it's going to say it's going to use 48 credits. Each credit is equal to 1 Newton second. So this rocket motor has 48 Newton seconds of total power in it. And I have, in my account, I've got 127,000 credits. So this is nothing. I can launch these all day. I'm going to hit simulate, and it's running the simulation. And now it's reloading the map. And, okay, so my rocket is right here. And you can't see that, but I'll zoom in. See, there it is in the middle of the field. And it's kind of aimed that way. And right now, north is kind of down to the bottom right. And I'm going to rotate that around just by grabbing that wheel and spinning it around. Okay, because I want north going up. So that gives us a little bit better reference. While I'm doing that, I'm looking over here. If you have a question about RockSim, go ahead and put it in the comments here on the live stream, and I can answer that. But in the meantime, I'm playing around, having fun with the launch visualizer. Okay, so there's the rocket. Right here we have a mini view, which is always a close-up view, but we're kind of zoomed in right here. So I'm going to back out of this a little bit so we can get a better perspective on where the rocket is at any given time. And you can see, let's see, it's right there at the tip of my arrow. And down here is the play button, and this rocket's going to be 107 seconds in the air as soon as I hit launch. So as soon as I hit this play button, you're going to see smoke and fire coming out of the rocket, and you're going to see that trail going off. We expect it to go this way. So let's see what happens when we play. And there it goes, and it goes up, and it went out of the screen. It went way high, so I got to zoom out, get a better perspective on this thing. Okay, so now the parachute is out and it's drifting down, but it's like too small, so I'm going to pause it right here. And this is a three-dimensional map, so I can click and drag and look at it from different perspectives. And by looking at it from this perspective, I can see that it's taking a turn. So it went that way, and now it's going to go this way. And I'll continue playing. And you can see it is kind of, you know, it took an L-shaped curve. That's because our wind is out of the west, so it's just blowing straight west across here. And now it's a question of where is this thing going to land. And we have an interstate running over here. Let's hope we don't land on the interstate, because that would be a hazard. This is so much fun. I can speed things along by grabbing the bar right here and dragging it over. I think we're going to miss the interstate. I think we might even stay on the field. Awesome. We did stay on the field. Look at that. We landed. It looks like a plowed field right here, right next to the interstate. I'm just clicking and dragging and using my scroll wheel to zoom in. If you ever lose your rocket, say your rocket goes off the screen and you can't find it, there's this little button right here called Find the Rocket. And when you click on that, it'll put it right in the middle of the screen. So it's moving it around. Okay, so now it's dead center right in the middle of the screen. And once it's dead center, then I like to use these buttons right here, because if I just put my pointer here and start zooming in with my scroll, I never know exactly where it's going to zoom. But as long as the rocket is right in the middle of the screen, it'll zoom in on it. You can even see the tracks from the tractor driving in this field. This is a really good image. Okay, so there's the rocket, and it did land right in the field. Right there. It's like an awesome flight. Nick says, can you record the simulation video to review later? Yes, you can, kind of, sort of. It's called share. Let me minimize this window here. So I'm going to click here. And on this screen right here, there's a button called share. And once you share it, this will be the link right here. So this link, if you want to write that link down right now, and if you go to that link, you will see this exact simulation that I just ran. So it's kind of like a saved animation, but it's not. You launch it in the visualizer, so you can actually see it, what I'm seeing here. And if I post this, I can post this on Facebook. Let's see if that works. Okay, let's see if we can log in. While it's doing that, Facebook is taking its time. You know, so what you would see if you came onto this link, it would open it up, and look, Facebook is taking forever. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so I am putting this share to newsfeed or story. Let's share on a page that I manage, and I'm going to put it on the Apogee web page, the Apogee Facebook page, and it says, say something about this to my friends watching RockSim live. Here is my simulation. So now this image right here is not the image of the rocket that we just ran, because we can't grab the image live and post it on here. So we just grabbed a generic image. And so this is just a generic JPEG or GIF that you would see. And then let's see, where's the post? It says post to Facebook. Profile is not linked to delegate page. Profile should always be linked to delegate page. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that happened. Okay, and then it closed Facebook. But if I click share again, I wonder. Let me try something here. I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to copy that. Oh, and I can't. This is on a different computer, so I can't even post it to the RockSim Live. Let me try doing this. Let me go to YouTube and let's see if I'm live here. Am I live? Oh yeah, let's see. I'm going to paste it right here. Okay, did that show up on the chat? I don't know if it's going to show up or not. And that way you will have the link. Oh, you did. Okay, so open up a new browser and paste that into your browser. I'm going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to close out YouTube. I'm going to go, actually I'm going to paste that in this browser. Just paste it. Oh, that's not it. That's a GIF. That is share link. Maybe it is. Okay, yeah, that worked. Okay, so this is going to the RockSim visualizer, and it goes to this page first, and then it has to load that. So you can see it's loading up here. Oh, the shared link is invalid. It didn't work. What the heck? I will have to talk to my programmers and find out, because they assured me that this works. Okay. Anyway, but that's the way it's going to work, so that you can save your simulations and run them later. However, when it saves the simulation, it only saves it for 30 days. The reason it only saves it for 30 days is that it's storing all that information, all that flight data on our servers. And if everybody's sharing, we're going to have a lot of stuff sitting on our servers that may or may not get viewed. So after 30 days, it's going to just kind of go away. So you have to kind of watch it within the next 30 days. So if you are watching this, oh, some people are saying it worked for them. Cool, so you can see exactly my simulation. So, you know, you're in the visualizer and you're seeing the rocket, and you can rotate it around. You can look at it from different angles. So if I can choose this one over here as the ground observer view, and this is what it would look like from an observer standing near the pad looking at the rocket. So right now the rocket is down on the ground, so it doesn't look like much. But if I restart the simulation and I play it again, you can see the rocket took off and went into the sky, and it's putting out smoke. You can kind of see down here that it's drifting over, and now the parachute came out and it's drifting west, coming back down to the ground. And this view right here is kind of up and above the rocket, so you can kind of get like a bird's eye view looking at the rocket. Okay, that's so cool. So I'm going to minimize that. On the National Web Service website, says Carlos, they have current wind speeds and directions at altitudes. Can we automatically use these in RockSim? Yes, you can automatically use them, but you have to automatically type them in yourself, because we don't grab data from the National Weather Service. It's not a current feature in the software yet. You'd have to do it yourself. So what he's saying is, there's another website out there called Windy, and they do the same thing. I think I showed this before, windy.com. And okay, so this is the current winds, and you have, where's the wind speeds? The wind speeds are down here. So we're launching from somewhere near Minneapolis. So if I zoom in, St. Paul, somewhere in this area. Do I see an interstate running through here in the Mississippi River? So here's Minneapolis right there, and this launch area was somewhere in here. And you can see the wind is coming out of the southeast, and I don't know, it's probably about 15 to 20 knots. Meters per second, miles per hour. So, you know, about, let's call it 15 miles per hour right now, currently at Minneapolis. So if I go back to the simulator here, I can come here to the weather conditions, the launch conditions tab, click on that, and I can go to my wind model. And I got a steady wind, and you remember it was coming out of the southeast, somewhere like right about there. You can see that it's kind of blowing that way. Oh look, when I click there, it gave me 12 miles an hour. Okay, so we'll use 12 miles an hour. Does it give us a direction actually? Southeast or southeast, not a real number. I zoomed in too much. Okay, so southeast, 12 miles an hour. So I'm going back to the launch visualizer, and I changed my miles per hour to 12. And it said southeast, so we'll make it like that. And click OK. And now, okay, so now here's our rocket sitting on the launch pad. We got the wind coming from this way, so we'll probably want to aim the rocket into the wind as well. And this time we know once the parachute opens, it's going to kind of push it back towards the northwest. So I'm going to go to the starting state. Let me make this a little bit smaller here so I can see my dials. So here's the azimuth right now where the rocket is pointing, and if I grab that and just swing it around, I can, you know, aim it kind of more into the wind. And now we'll launch it this time, and I'll click the launch button. And again, it's going to use 48 credits because every time I launch it, it has to suck them up. Okay. All right, there's my rocket sitting on the pad. Oh, I'm in ground observer mode, so I'm going to go back here to trajectory. Okay, so my rocket is right there. I can just see a tiny green dot right there. Okay, so and it's aimed to the southeast. So north is going this way, kind of along the interstate right here. So I guess this interstate runs north-south. And it's aimed kind of this way, kind of towards the corner of the field. And we expect it to drift this way, and hopefully it won't land in one of these little obstacles called a lake. So I'm going to watch it, see it takes off, and it's going that way. And it's going over the top, and at that point the parachute popped out, and it's drifting, and it looks like it's drifting right along our same ground path. I can rotate this around. Yep, it's coming exactly along our ground path, because you can see the red lines right there. And I'm going to take the slider here, and I'm just going to speed things up and see where it's going to land. Is it going to hit that lake? Is it going to hit the lake? It's going there. No, we missed the lake. So it landed right on the other side of this road. This road, can we read the name of this road? Quade Avenue. Oh, there's another little pond that it missed too. Somebody's front lawn right here. So that's retrievable. That's a nice flight. It probably weathercocked a little bit too much. Let me zoom back out. See, it went way over. If you want to know if it's weathercocking too much, there's over here under settings, this button here at the top. Click on that, and you can display the weathercocking cone. And I'll click on that, and I'll also click on add the apogee point. So now the apogee point will be a dot on the screen, and I'm going to say OK. And now you can see the cone. See the cone right here? This cone right here is the weathercocking cone, and we want the apogee point to be within that cone. And if it's outside of the cone, you're going to get a red dot, and if it's inside, you're going to get a green dot. And this means that the red dot means, yeah, we're weathercocking too much. The rocket's gone too far outside of vertical. Not exactly the safest thing we should be doing. So we want to keep that apogee point up in here. So how do you do that? Well, let's go back here to our starting state. Right now we're angled 24 degrees off of vertical. You can see this little slider here. If you go past 30 degrees, it turns from green to red, because red means you're violating the NAR safety code. And so I'm going to go more straight up. So now we're exactly straight up here, and we launch it. Simulate, and let's see what it does this time. I'm looking over here at the, I'm going to play this while I look over here at the comments. Mark says, I'd like to commend your dedication to your business and educating your customers. I have found that a lot of similar companies are not very responsive and are hard to communicate with. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. It's not by accident. You guys are the reason that I'm here. You know, I'm in business because you keep buying from us, and if we turn you away and we don't answer your questions, that's not good business, and we're going to lose you as customers. So it is our policy to answer the phones. So if you were to call up our website, you know, our phone number is listed on our website. If I go to Apogee, and here is our phone number right here. If you were to call that number right now, during business hours, it's going to be answered by a real person. The only time it's not answered by a real person during business hours is, one, we're in a meeting, and we have a staff meeting every Thursday. So then we put it on voicemail. Or the other thing is that there's so many people calling that there's not enough people to answer the phone. So at that point, it would also go to voicemail. But if there's somebody available, they're going to answer that phone. Carlos says, use North and National Weather Service as your launch site. What is transition? Is that tree height? I don't know what National Weather Service transition is. That's not my website, so I don't know what that is. Mark says, I've purchased 2 rockets and lots of accessories and will continue to do so. Happy Thanksgiving. Well, thank you, Mark. Next week will be Thanksgiving. We will be off on Thanksgiving, but we will be here on Friday because it's Black Friday. And I will be here for RockSim Live. I'm planning on it. Since I'll be here, might as well see if anybody's listening. Yeah. No more questions. Anything, you know, this is your questions. Let's do a different, okay, this simulation is running. See, it went a lot higher, and our weathercocking cone, you can see the cone. And we have a green dot, so the rocket stayed right, pretty much almost right in the middle. And then it is drifting, and this time it's going to miss that lake, and I think it's going to miss all the lakes. It's probably going to land, it kind of looks like a barn right down there. See if I can drag it all the way over. Yep, it just missed the barn. Yeah, That's cool. Let's take a sip of water. And let's run a different simulation. It's something I haven't done in a long time. Let's go to the starting state. And let's give the rocket some velocity. So let's give it a Mach number. Let's give it some really high speed, like Mach 0.6. All right, so as it comes off the launch pad, now it's going to be going a lot faster. Let's launch it. Let's see what happens. This is what I do when I'm beta testing. I just throw random numbers into the simulation. Wow, look at that weathercocking cone. See that weathercocking cone? It's a lot higher this time. And the weathercocking cone's kind of going to give you an indication on how high the rocket is going to go, because it wants to keep the dot somewhere below the top rim of this cone. And you can kind of see the cone as you rotate around. It's translucent. If you want to change the color of the cone, it's over here. And here's the opacity and the color. See if I make it really dark. Click OK. So now you can really see the cone. But now you can't see the rocket inside, so that's like too dark. So I'm going to turn it back to where it was. Click OK. And let's launch it. So now this one is going to be 179 seconds. Remember, it's coming off the pad at Mach 0.6. So you can see the speed. Okay, I'm going to bring this out here, and I'm going to cover up my launch button. And we're going to see down here air velocity, relative velocity, absolute velocity. Okay, so you got relative velocity, which is respect to the ground, and you have absolute velocity, which is respect to the center of gravity of the Earth, so the Earth's core. Because the rocket is on the surface of the Earth and the Earth is rotating, it has a speed. So that's why the absolute velocity is always going to be greater than the relative velocity. And then I'm going to launch. I'm going to pause right there. Oh, where's my data? My data's not showing up. Close that and open it. Oh man, I wanted to see that velocity. This is why we're beta testing, because we had a regression. Regression means it was working and now it's not. But the rocket is coming off the pad a lot faster than it did before. I'm going to start it over. Okay, the rocket's coming off the pad. It's going so fast and it's slowing down really quick. But it's going a lot higher. We're at, we're going to 2,700 feet. And now it's coming down. And before we landed right here by this barn, now we're going to land a lot further away. So I'm going to pause it and just drag the slider. Yeah, so the rocket landed way out here. It went over this field, and it's in somebody's backyard, I'm sure. Somebody's front yard. Oh, it landed in a tree. I would say it got that tree. There's a trampoline right there. Okay, that was fun. Now let's do something even more fun. Let's take this same rocket and let's give it, we already gave it a starting rotation, starting velocity. Let's give it a launch altitude. So our launch altitude is going to be, currently it's 780 feet above sea level. And we're going to, we can go above ground level. Let's go 20,000 feet above ground level. And let's change the orientation of the rocket, right here, the launch angle. Let's launch it at 90 degrees. So now we're going to be launching the rocket completely horizontal. So if I take the rocket, it's going to be horizontal like that. And it's got a starting velocity of Mach 0.6. And yeah, let's launch it. I think that's good. Simulate. Let's see what it does this time. It's probably not going to go much higher than 20,000 feet because we're already at 20,000 feet and we're going horizontal. So unless the rocket develops lift, we're not going to see it. Okay, so somewhere right in the middle of the screen should be the rocket. And if you can't see it, remember, do find the rocket. Oh, there it goes, right there. It's up in the air. Okay, so there's our launch pad. Now, I wanted to rotate it. I lost the rocket, so find it again. Okay, so now you can kind of get a perspective that we are actually 20,000 feet in the air. We're still over that same launch site, so if I look straight down on it, you can see it's right here where we started. But it is, let's see, north is straight up, and it's angled to the southeast, so it's going to come this direction. And it's got a velocity of Mach 0.6. And look at this, it's going to take 1,017 seconds to get to the ground. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. There goes our rocket. Okay, and it's traveling along the Mississippi. It's right up here. Parachute is out. Okay, so once the parachute out, it's going to stop going this direction. But it went pretty far. And now it's coming down, and the wind is blowing this way. So let's take this bar and see if I can drag it and see where it's going to land. Right there. Okay, so the reason this is solid red is because we're looking at it. Each of these lines is 1 second apart. And if you put everything close together, you get this solid, block. But there's where it landed. Oh, no. Ah. It didn't hit down to the ground because I'm still up in the air right here. I think it ended the simulation when did it end the simulation? It thinks it's at an altitude of 26 feet, but I'm not on the ground. I'm up in the air. So what happened there? So this is where we dig around, and I go to my launch site, and my landing zone altitude should be 780 feet. So it should hit all the way back down to the ground. Well, that's something we're going to have to look into. That's not the view for the rocket. For that one, we need to go here. Yeah, so this line should be going all the way back down to the ground. So I'm clicking on the 2D, and it went from this point here to this point here. Probably in that field there, I'm thinking pretty close. Looks like the Mississippi curves back around and goes to the west over here. Anyway, that was fun. I got a bug I got to report to the programmers, get that fixed before we release it. Let's see, any other questions? Nick says, sometimes hard to find a location to launch. For Colorado, the Pawnee National Grasslands east of Fort Collins is a good spot. Students from Denver launched a rocket that reached 26,000 feet in Mach 2.1. Well, that's cool. 2.1. They're burning paint on that one, burning the paint off the nose cone. So yeah, finding launch sites is hard, and that's why we got the launch visualizer, because looking at a map and seeing the ground is a very helpful thing to finding launch sites. So he's talking about the Pawnee National Grasslands. So let me zoom out. So this is Minnesota. Pawnee National Grasslands is here in northern Colorado, up near the border. You see this little thing right here? That's one of the launch sites. We tried to do all the NAR and Tripoli launch sites. So this one here is the Pawnee National Grasslands. You can see all this dead brown grass. Not a tree in sight. Okay, so now to put the launch site right there, you just double click and see it put a dot. So that's where the pad would be if I launch from this launch site. And then you come down here to confirm the launch site, and it redoes the latitude, longitude, and the altitudes. And this time I'm going to say altitude above ground level is 0. So I'm going to put myself back on the ground and just click launch again. And we'll see what this one does. Ah, I forgot to change something. Can you see what I forgot to change? I forgot to change the launch angle. Yeah, this rocket's not going to go anywhere. It's got a launch time of 0 seconds, so it doesn't even leave the pad. So it just scooting along the ground. Yeah, it's not doing anything. So, got to reorient the rocket. So let's go to the starting state, and let's orient the rocket this way and launch. Simulate. Carlos says, does Roxim show any tracking powder ejection? The answer is no. No. It would be too hard to do. We're trying to create smoke particles as the rocket leaves the pad. Okay, so see these down here, this gradient kind of area, that's smoke. And that smoke right there is a whole bunch of small particles. And just modeling those smoke particles has been a challenge, trying to make them look like real smoke. It's a challenge. We went back and forth on that for months. If I zoom in, find the rocket, zoom in. Okay, so there's the rocket, and these are smoke particles. And so what he's saying is an ejection charge or a tracking powder, which would be just another little smoke particle like that. The closest you get is that apogee point, because that's when parachute is usually deployed anyway. Not always, but I'm zooming out. This one looks like it's going to be outside the weather, maybe inside the weather cocking cone. Maybe. Continue to play. Yep, it's inside because you got a green dot. So that's your tracking smoke right there, tracking powder, that green dot. Yeah, this is going to be a good walk on this one. We're already at, well, actually it's getting closer to the pad. But then when we get over here, come on, drag. Sometimes it's being a little slow. There we go. See, now we're at 2,200 feet, so we're about a half a mile away. That's a pretty good walk. But there's no trees over here, so you should probably be able to find it pretty good. Let's see, I want to make north straight up. So north is straight up. This road runs north-south. And so we're way over here to the northwest where the rocket landed. Okay. No questions. Come on, bring in your questions. I'll answer them. Let's do another simulation. Let's see. Let's try a different design. So to select a different rocket, go here to select rocket, and you can choose a design. And you'll notice there's two types of designs. There's user designs, and these are ones that I personally uploaded into my account. And then over here are demo designs. And these are designs that are demo projects. Right here we got one called Unstable Rocket. So let's select that one. So that should be fun. So there's the rocket sitting on the launch pad, and you can see that, yeah, the fins are forward of the rocket. Definitely kind of looks unstable. And let's launch it and see what it does. Let's choose a new launch site. So, so say I wanted to find a new launch site, and I'm new to the area, and I'm looking for a place to launch rockets. So I'm in Colorado Springs. I'm going to go Castle Rock, Colorado Springs, and there's the Air Force Academy. And the Air Force Academy has some beautiful, see some land, which would be a nice place to launch a rocket. So I'm looking at this, and what I'm looking for is a place that doesn't have a lot of trees. And look at this, they got this nice big green open area right there. You know, I think I'd like to launch a rocket right there. So if you find an area, you put your launch pad down. So I'm right in the middle of this right here on the Air Force Academy athletic fields. And confirm launch site. So now I'm at 7,000 feet above sea level. That's a pretty high launch site right there. And this rocket is aimed, again, it's to the southeast. Let me see my azimuth compass right here. And it's kind of angled at 12 degrees. We still have that 12-mile-an-hour wind. We need to choose an engine. It's going to be an 18-millimeter motor. And I'm going to choose an Aerotech D 2.3. So this is a really long burn motor. So this burns for 8 seconds. It's a D motor. And I'm going to give it a custom delay of, I don't know, 3 seconds. Use that. So it's a D 2.3 T-3 rocket engine. Even though you can't get a -3, I'm gonna use it because I want to have some delay in there. And then let's launch it. Let's see what it does and see how unstable it is. 8 seconds of terror. Okay, so here is the athletic fields that we chose. And the rocket is right there, and it's aimed this direction. Towards these tennis courts, it looks like. And let's zoom in a little bit. This one only stays in the air 9.7 seconds. So it's not going to go very high. You can kind of see how high it's going to go with the cone. Let's see what the trajectory looks like. Whoa! It's still burning. All the way down to the head, it burned out. It's flipping around, doing its thing there. I included an unstable rocket in the demo design so that you can have some fun. And so these demo designs, if you create an account right now, you would see this rocket. Yeah, let's hit stop. And I'm going to do a share again, and I'll share this. So this is the that simulation I just ran. And let me go back to our YouTube channel. Spaceship Starship X presentation is, I'm not watching. Click on that. I'm going to go down here in the comments and I'm going to paste that down here so that you guys can play with that as well. All right. So that has been pasted into the comments, and that will be in there for 30 days. So 30 days from today is the 19th of November 2021. So December 18 or 19 of 2021 is how long that will be in the archives of the YouTube thing, so that you can play with launching an unstable rocket. When I do unstable rockets, here's my trick, is I always choose an engine that burns really long, because then they start doing a lot of flips and things. You can see this thing's flipping over and over. Let me change to this view right here. You can see it's flipping around pretty good. You can see that this, let me pause it right there. You can see that trajectory line is not exactly straight, you know, as it's flipping around. But that's a nice field to launch from. Nice these big soccer fields. So if you were to try to find a launch field near you, now this is, you know, the Air Force Academy, so they're not going to let you launch their rockets there, but then your next step would be to find the owner of the launch site and ask them permission if you can launch there. And then once you get permission, start a new club. We had somebody that sent me a new launch site the other day, because he is just, he started a new club. And I said, hey, go in the launch visualizer and give me the coordinates, and we'll put it in this chart right here. Let's see if I'd put it in there. Here it is, the Hyperion project. I think he is in Indiana. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to reload this map. And he is flying from this park right here. And this is in Indiana, and it's, I think it's southeast of Indianapolis. So there's Indianapolis right there. All this congested area, so he is down here. Looks to be a lot more open area down here, a lot more farmland. And there's this nice little Johnson County Park. He's got a brand new NAR section called the Hyperion Project. So I would suggest, I'm putting in a plug for him. And if you got a new rocket club, I'll put in a plug for you too. Still no questions here in the chat. I think either nobody's watching, but I can see there's people watching, or nobody has questions, or you just enjoy watching me play around here. So if you find a new launch site, so here's how you would actually share the coordinates from here. So let's say I found this piece of land right here. So I would put my launch site there by double clicking, and then confirm launch site. And then I would do save this launch site. And when you do the save the launch site, it saves it into your own personal files, so nobody else can see it. But you have to do this first. If you're not saving it for yourself, you know, what's the point? My new site. And it has the longitude and the latitude and the altitude. And then you could say, is this a rocketry club? Yes. Because I'm encouraging you to start a new club. Is permission to launch here required? And I'd say yes, because pretty much everywhere you launch, permission is going to be required. And then you're going to put your club name, you know, Rockets are us. And then you put your email in there. Just making something up, and then you put special notes, and then you have a website, RockSim.com. And so this is where people could, outside people other than you, might contact you. So you would want to give them your URL. Your contact email, that stays private. We don't share private email addresses unless we have permission. Because we don't want you getting spam. And then you hit submit. So right now this is saved into my database. In fact, you can check that if you come here to profile and you go to the user dashboard. And I think if you come down here to manage data, and you can say my saved launch sites, and I have a couple of them in here. Where's my new one? Oh, there it is. This is a scroll right here. You got to scroll down. My new launch site. So there's the new site. It's in my database. And then let me go back to here. Here. And then you would go share this launch site. So now when you click share this launch site, it's going to have all, this is my database of all my personal saved launch sites. Like I put in my boyhood home launch site, you know, and I was a little kid when I think I launched my first rocket around 1976. And we launched it from a park across the street from my house, behind my friend's house. And so I found that launch site and I saved it into my database. But now if I have this new launch site and I want to let other people know about it, because I want other people to join my club, I would select it, make it public, and share. And what this does is it shares it, and basically what it does is it sends me personally an email. And then what I do is I look at the site and I confirm, yeah, that's a real site, because I'm not going to confirm it if it's like in the back of the White House lawn at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., because that's not a real launch site. You'd probably get in trouble, so I don't want to share that. And then once I approve it, then it will automatically show up in your Choose My Launch Sites. And that's how come this one right down here, the Hyperion project, showed up, because that one's a new launch site. The red color means it's a NAR section. The blue are Tripoli. And if you have personal ones, they would show up as green. And there's a whole bunch of weird ones in here. My programmers, they're making their own websites. So this one was done by Test Ank Demo. And I think Ank might be one of the programmers working on this the project. If you wanted to see it, let me see where Ank Demo is. He was in the green section. You can just double click on it, click OK, and let's see where he is. It's still, this looks to be in Oklahoma. I'm zooming in. It's really close to a lake. It's right on the road. So yeah, I would probably, if somebody shared this with me and I had to approve it, I would probably email the person back and say, hey, that's not a legitimate launch site. I can't do anything with that one. Yeah, we want to put the pads where where there's going to be a real launch site. So now, if the launch site was right there, I would say, yeah, that's a real launch site, because there's, it's in the middle of this field. I can see some trees around here, but I've seen smaller fields than that. That one actually looks like a nice field. So you could go to this person that owns this field. Probably one of their houses is somewhere in here. Maybe that's a house, and these look kind of like barns going down their driveway. Yeah, this might be some kind of gas pumping station or something. Maybe he's got a drill, a pumping station. This is Oklahoma, so I'm sure there's oil there. So that's how you would find a launch site. Nick Verini says, is the launch site in RockSim Pro being updated along with the beta? The launch site database, the answer is no, because we can't. This is why we want to put everything in the cloud, so that when we update things, it immediately gets to everybody. In the desktop software, it's very hard to update anything. So that's why we're not updating launch sites. But these launch sites are available for free here on the RockSim.com website. So if you wanted to add a website that's already here in the database, you just scroll out, find a thumbnail. See, there's one right there, and that's probably somebody's launch site. I have to wait for the maps to update. This one looks like to be on the edge of a field. So blue means it's a Tripoli launch site. So I would probably put the launch pad itself. Well, this is a nice site because you got a lot of open land down here. You got some trees here along this river, but you might you'd probably launch over here. Put your pad right there, confirm the launch site. And if you knew who, the one thing that we don't have, one of the features that I asked for but is not implemented yet, is being able to click on these thumbnails and find out who exactly is launching there. Because right now there's really no way of knowing. I know it's a club and it's in the database somewhere, but which one? What you would have to do is find the latitude and longitude of that point right there. See, 35.3977 right there. And then go into choose the launch site and look at the latitudes. Latitude. And I can sort them. So then I would sort, and I would come down to 37. Or was that 39? I'm scrolling down. The numbers are going really fast. 39. I forget who that was. Was it 37 or 3977? It's not South Jersey. It's not the Hyperion Project because we looked at them already. And it's got to be a Tripoli website. And it's probably not Reno. But you get the idea. So you would, it's 35. 35 and minus 98. Oh, come on. Latitude. $35. Where are you? 35. Okay, so that one is Tripoli, Tulsa. And if I came over here, I could go, highlight the website. And let me open a new browser and let's paste that in there, Tripoli, Tulsa. So I am promoting Tripoli, Tulsa. Look at that. Does that not look like that field? That's awesome. So that's how you find out who owns those or who flies at those launch sites. Yeah, I don't know exactly where their launch site is, but we're probably pretty close. So it's after 3 o'clock. And there's one last comment. Fat Bank says, I've noticed RockSim doesn't crash as often. Was there an update? And the answer was no. We haven't updated anything. we can only make live updates to the online RockSim.com, which is the launch visualizer. See, it's launch visualizer up here. That we can. This is why putting things in the cloud is so much nicer, because we can fix things fast and update and add new features, and everybody gets them right away. Where with the desktop, it's so much harder because of security issues with Windows and Apple Macintosh. So that's just kind of the way things are. I am going to. We're an hour into this thing, so we're gonna stop the video here shortly. Under the Ron James says, under the Club Finder should maybe have the state and city info. Yeah, there's so many things we can do, but right now we got to get the bugs worked out so that you can use it. It is usable right now, except for some bugs, just like that new one we discovered here today. But that was. I think it's cool. I am just so excited about the launch visualizer, and I urge you to test it out. It's free right now. There's 3 different membership plans. 2 of them are free. The first one is if you want to remain completely anonymous. And if you're completely anonymous, we can't save your data for you. So that's the drawback of that one. And because you're anonymous, we only allow you to go up to Apogee. You can't come back down to the ground. And then the second free plan is if you give us your email address, now we can tie your data to an email address, to an account. It's only you have the account. I can't even look into it myself. It's all your data, your rockets, your designs, your launch sites. And it's free, and you can set that up. But again, you can only do certain launches. You can only launch to Apogee. You can't come back down to the ground, so you can't see where it's going to land, if it's going to land in those trees or whatever. You can angle the launch, but you can't change the azimuth. You know, azimuth is north, south, east, and west. You can't change that. You can't give it an initial speed. You can't give it an initial altitude, like we did, where I was launching it from 20,000 feet up in the air. So there's things you can't do, and if you want to do those things, that's where it's going to start costing a little bit of money, and it's not going to be much. It's going to be $3 a month. We're just trying to cover our expenses and to see how much people like it. We're not taking any money right now today, even though the credit card thing is turned on, and we turned it on so that we could test it. But don't pay any money right now until we officially announce the release. If you want to get on the premium plan and get rockets that come down all the way back down to the ground and changing the azimuth angle and flying high power motors, you have to sign up for the beta testing. And I showed you that at the beginning of this live stream, where you come to the Apogee website and there are instructions there on how to request to be a beta tester. And once you're a beta tester, then I turn on all the features for you. And then there's no restrictions. So you can test it. After we're done beta testing, all the all the membership is going to be wiped out. So you're going to lose all your data until we start again, until we officially announce it. So right now you can try it out, test it out. You're going to lose your data, but then you can start again later. I didn't show you how to load a rocket into the launch visualizer, but maybe we'll do that next time. It's pretty easy to do, and there's thousands and thousands of RockSim files out there that you can probably find any kit you want, except for some of the weird Estes ones, like the little spaceman jumper thing. If you can design it in RockSim or RockSim Pro, you can upload them into the launch visualizer. Ron Jan says, need to add clubs in New Mexico. That would be cool. We need more clubs down there. So go ahead and start one. I'm all for you. I'll help you advertise it by putting it into the launch visualizer so that other people can find it. And you know, they can say, hey, there's a club that's launching near me in New Mexico. And by doing that, we all win. You know, Apogee wins because, you know, there's more places to fly rockets. That's the number one limitation of how big rocketry can get, is having launch sites. And this is my vision, to have 10 launch sites in every state in the United States and all the provinces of Canada, so that there's always a club that's fairly close to wherever you might be. And we can add clubs all over the world too. So if you have a launch site in India or, you know, Germany, France, you know, we can add them. We can add them so that other people can find you, and then you'll have more friends to launch with. And that's, you can never have enough rocketry friends, right? Okay, so we got to end. I appreciate you coming. We will be back again next Friday, which is after the day of Thanksgiving here in the United States. Yeah. So until then, you know, go out and launch something. So we're going to end this in 3, 2, 1. End the stream.